Hey everybody, and welcome to the Moscow School District Community Schools Podcast. This is Brian Smith. I'm the Moscow School District Community School Coordinator, Career Technical Education Coordinator, and Principal at Paradise Creek High School. What's the purpose of this podcast? To celebrate all things Moscow School District. And trust me, there are many things to celebrate. But before we get started, we have to thank the Nez Perce Tribe. Due to the local education fund grant, we were able to buy all this equipment to house a professional grade podcast studio inside our high school. It's awesome. Students in speech class create podcasts. We compete in podcast competitions and do really well. And then I get to bring in special guests to highlight all the amazing programming and everything else we have here. And so what is community schools? Community schools is using local stakeholders, businesses, interested parties to come together and try to shore up the needs of our kids so that every single student can be successful in school. I'm going to tell you what, too. I have got a group of guys here who do this every single day in the classroom. These have got to be some of the most famous people across the land in Moscow because today we are all things elementary PE. Yes. And if you haven't been in a PE class in a while, I know when I just said that, your heart started racing. You remembered all the memories. And guys, if at one point we don't talk about the parachute, I'm going to be really upset. But I'll leave it there. So first off, I'd love to do introductions. I'm going to say their name and let them say a little bit about their brief history of what brought them to Moscow School District and where they're working at now. So first, from Lena Whitmore Elementary, Mr. Colin Briggs.
Hello. My name's Colin Briggs. I have been working for the Moscow School District now for 10 plus years. I did my student teaching here. I'm a former Vandal. I ran track and field for the University of Idaho. I fell in love with Moscow when I moved here for school, and I feel very, very lucky that a job opened up right at the perfect time when I was looking for one. I was originally with Lisa Karskalen when I did my student teaching. She worked for the Moscow School District at McDonald Elementary. I think I learned a lot from her specifically, and my teaching is like a copycat of her because she was just such a mentor for me. I've coached lots of different sports. This is my 10th year.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. And from West Park Elementary, we have Mr. Stephen Graham.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, Steve Graham here. So this is my third year in the Moscow School District, sixth year overall as a physical educator. I did my student teaching with Colin. And so a lot of what I do in the classroom is definitely modeled after what he does in his classroom, just because he was a big mentor to me. I knew right away as soon as I started doing my stuff at the University of Idaho with PE, as well as doing my student teaching with Colin, that this is the district I needed to be in as a physical educator. There's some amazing things that go on here in this community, especially in the PE world. And so when the job opened up at West Park and Russell 3 years ago, I was like, that's it. I need to be there. So was lucky enough to get that job, and here we are. So, yeah.
Awesome. And I got to point out, this is the third time on a podcast when I've brought in representatives and I've had the host teacher and the student teacher who's now a teacher in the district. I'm telling you, it speaks volumes about what we do here in Moscow, that we can keep so many local and people want to come back, and so many Vandals.
Go Vandals.
Speaking of Vandals, all the way from McDonald Elementary, our third guest is Mr. Lance Hamma.
Yes, hello. Thanks for having me. I came to University of Idaho in 2001 as a lifeguard, and I needed hours, so I started lifeguarding at 5:15 in the morning, and there was this chatty lady named Debbie Bell, who has been an award-winning second grade teacher in our district forever, who came in and was chatting my ear up at that hour, and I was not awake. She kept me awake, and then as I went through my university program, I decided I can't do computers, and was great with swim lessons, so eventually I tried elementary ed, and student taught for Debbie Bell, and realized that was a blast, and tried to go all the way through and get my elementary ed degree, and then all of a sudden I took a practicum through Doug Fisher at Lena, And Doug Fisher showed me how fun playing games with kids is, and that's an actual job. I was like, are you serious? You can get paid for this? This is great. Can I come in after the semester's over? So I went and did a student practicum with Doug Fisher, and then I tried to student teach with Dan Peterson, who was at McDonald Elementary, and that didn't quite work out, but I got sent out to Troy with Aaron Royce and Guy Wells and James Stoner, and I went K through 12 out in Troy, where I actually, as the student teacher, had Stephen Graham as a student. Yeah, he was, I think 6th grade is what we decided.
Yeah, I was in the 6th grade.
Yeah, it's blurry. I literally had the entire school district that I had to memorize when student teaching, but that was a lot of fun, and I let the job market decide if I'd go into elementary classroom or into PE, and elementary classroom is what took me. I went 5th grade for 7 years, then down to 2nd grade for another 6, and then back to 5th grade, and then I've been a physical educator now for 3 years at McDonald Elementary, and have been a part of the swim unit that we are in the middle of teaching for a long time, because I also lifeguarded that back in the day as well. So,
And this is incredible, guys. And I just want to say, before we dive into the questions, we're so lucky to have the 3 role models that you all are for our kids at the elementary level. I mean, this guarantees for every single student that comes to our public school system that they're going to have a male role model that has a unique perspective, a classroom that's welcoming to all, and just provide that kind of influence. You just can't replace it inside of public schools. So again, it's just a notch for how lucky we are. So speaking of, Mr. Briggs, I'm going to go to you first. So PE has got to be easily one of the most popular subjects of all time, right? So while it seems obvious maybe, why do you believe that students love this subject so much?
I think for the majority of students at the elementary level, one of the best ways that they are able to learn is by moving their body. I think we all know that. That's why we picked this awesome career, is to help kids be successful through moving their body. I know for my classroom, and I can speak probably for Lance and Steve on this, we're not just teaching you how to strike a ball with your foot or throw a ball correctly. We are adding academic contents, life skills concepts, all that stuff to our everyday lessons. We're creating overall healthy individuals that can make choices for the rest of their life through movement, but is also academic based on why it's important for you to move your body, what your body is doing as it's growing, why we work really hard in that aspect. So I feel like everybody loves coming to the class because we have the fun stuff, but in my 10 years of experience, I've learned and believe that kids truly are coming to my class because they get to learn how their bodies are growing and moving, and we get to provide that experience for them. And I wouldn't change the job I have. I do really have the best job.
That's an awesome answer. And I can't tell you as a principal how many times I know that you are the reason the student walks through the front doors. They might be counting down the minutes till they get to see their PE teacher and just have that kind of moment. So, Mr. Graham, I got to ask, when you have students come in to your classroom there, the skill differences have got to be a mile long, especially at elementary level. How in the world do you differentiate for, let's say, somebody who, I've used my body in an athletic way or move. I do it all the time, and this might be the first time anyone's asked me to ever move this much. How do you tackle those differences?
That's a great question. Everybody has different skill levels, different skill sets, different experiences. And so the great thing is that you can tie what we're learning in the classroom, whatever it may be. I want to tie it back to their experiences, And so giving them something that they're familiar with, however that or whatever that may be, and really just differentiating for those kids, right? It's okay that we've never struck with our foot or before, what does that look like for us for the first time? At the same time, what does it look for somebody who's struck 1,000 times with their foot, right? Mm-hmm. So being able to provide those opportunities at the same time is really a large skill set that all 3 of us have. Is we're providing these activities at the same time for all of these different kids, so they can all be successful with those activities. So.
Yeah, I love that. And so,
and I can hop on there too a little bit. This is Colin Briggs hopping in again. I think it's really important. And we are doing the habits. All of our buildings are, I think at the elementary level, are talking about the 7 habits, Covey's stuff. So one of my strengths, I just talked about this at my staff meeting, was begin with the end in mind, right? Begin with the end in mind. I think PE teachers already have that mindset. That's one of our strengths. I think lots of educators have that as a great mindset. I think it's important for us to tell our students, and I know Steven does this, and I know Lance does this, your perfection of striking a ball with your foot, and I always use that one as an example. We could pick anything, but
no, I like it. I'm with you on this one. Yeah,
yeah, like your success does not look the same as my success, and it doesn't look the same as Steven's, and it doesn't look the same as Lance's. And I think we all do a good job letting all of our students know and recognize that every person in the room's level of success is going to look different. And that just has been started when they were 5 years old and showed up for the very first time, figuring out where their dot is going to be and how to get to their dot and what color their dot is. Everybody's path is going to look a little bit different, but success is all within their own rights. We are 100% seeing that right now in swimming. We finished our 4th day of swim. Everybody's level of success is going to look different, and we added in an assessment this year that's checking in on that. And we can fly back into swim, but everybody's success looks different, and that's the environment that we're providing for them.
Yeah. Lance here wanting to chime in. I would say kind of piggybacking off their ideas of using that growth mindset of everybody comes in at different levels and watching them grow and improve on whatever their skills are. That is our goal, is we just want to watch them make improvement, feel that improvement, so then they feel successful and then want to continue doing it. So hopefully we create kind of an upward spiral of success from that growth mindset. So
I love that. And you keep hearing us refer to the swim unit. I have to say first that these 3 guys all were willing to come in today after school at the end of day 4 of 6 of all day treading water and swimming. And so we're going to get that to a minute. But so Mr. Hamma, especially because of your classroom experience where before you'd have a student for a year, right? We forget that if you're a specialist teacher, you see many kids through their journey, kindergarten through 5th grade, and those are the ones that keep coming back in middle school and high school because you guys are all usually into some type of coaching role, mentoring role. Mr. Hamma, I'm going to ask you this because as a parent, I got experience watching you mentor my own son through his journey of watching him grow up together. And I just feel that as a parent, you can bond with specialist teachers in a whole different way because the conversations are so much deeper. But on that same token, there are kids who get nervous walking into the PE area, right? It can be a trigger. I'm worried about the competition, what's going to be asked of me. Lance, how do you empower students to gain a sense of belonging to be willing to participate in your room?
Great question. The idea of trying to get kids to feel empowered on their own, sometimes they're going to be kind of closed off. So sometimes just creating that relationship. So if they come in with a Star Wars shirt, talking to them about Star Wars. Or something else. I think we all do a version of walk and talk in our PE classes, right? So walk and talk is generally we're just physically moving, have a prompt to talk about, and socialize with. So we build a lot of social emotional skills that way within the classroom. As a coach, you do want to get to know your athletes so that you can find out how they work, what drives and motivates them, whether it's trying to beat their older brother or do better than their best friend who's next to them. It's usually trying to make some kind of relationship or connection there is one of my favorite ways of doing that. Absolutely loved learning about walking and talk. That actually wasn't a thing when I went through U of I. It just didn't exist yet.
It didn't exist when I was there. I think I just picked something. I didn't want kids sitting at their dots. This is Briggs, by the way. I didn't want kids sitting at the dots, so I was like, when you enter in the room, you better start walking. I know the middle school does that too.
Oh, nice.
Why we want to use every second minute we can use.
And in particular, I definitely use that as like a way of teaching social, emotional, friend-making skills. And that is absolutely useful. And I find it awesome when there's an odd number, they need a partner. Well, I get to jump in.
Here you go.
I get to be literally on an equal level with them. And it's really nice to relate to, hear about the friends, the family, their motivations. That really helps kids also see that familiar face. And then when they see us, those familiar faces helping them learn to swim, then they're like, oh, this guy I've already trusted a lot. So, okay, he'll help me not drown.
Yeah, which is a huge level of trust. What's an example of a prompt during the walk and talk?
My question of the day usually is based around an academic content that we're going to probably go over or something that's going on. So we just started getting ready for our elementary district-wide track meet that's coming up. One of the questions before the students came in is, what do you know about track and field? While I was gone, I had a substitute member, which was Mrs. Briggs, by the way. Mrs. Briggs got to be the PE teacher.
Yes.
And she's come home and she's like, I don't know how you do that all the time. I'm like,
that's fair.
It's pretty fun. But it was about sock hop. We just had our big school's sock hop last week, and they got to talk about the fun stuff and share with their friends about those things. But usually, if I'm starting a heart health unit, it's going to be heart health related. Food unit, it's going to be nutrition related. It's going to be something for them to talk about, cycle back to during the lesson. And I think
Yeah, Steve here. Mine's very similar. Mine's written as a bonus challenge. So it's it's kind of like assessment that we do at the end of every PE session. So they come in, they read what the bonus challenge is. For example, I can, let's go back to striking. I can strike the ball with the inside and outside of my foot with accuracy 3 out of 5 times or something like that. And so then when we start our movement, now they're talking about striking with the foot. What do I know about that? But then also by the end of the class, if I've completed my bonus challenge, right, I did it 3 out of 5 times, I have my 4 posters on the wall, and it's like, wow, I get to high five the wow on the way out the door because I got the bonus challenge. Or if I didn't get it, it's okay because I was still a good learner today, I get a high five the good job, or whatever it is, them coming out like that. So that's how I set it up in my space. Very similar, though.
I get that. Lance here. I do very similar to Colin and Steven with a lot of academic content being related into it. Sometimes I end up throwing in some emotional things. A thing like, talk to me about a moment where you've been really scared, or talk to me about a moment where you're really upset. And then we try and also teach kids to have a follow-up question about finding out more detail and hearing that. And as a friendship-making skill, asking a question to somebody is usually that skill I'm trying to get them to do, because when our 5th graders go to the middle school, they got to make a whole lot of new friends because they have a lot of new kids in their class, and that skill is going to be used. So I throw in a little extra with that. I know you guys do those things as well, but that idea of sometimes an emotional bubble that you pop and are willing to be vulnerable about is very kind of telling too, and it also helps build that community where everybody's learning to trust, and they realize, oh, Mr. Hamma had a scary moment too. Oh, that's kind of powerful to kids.
Mm-hmm. You know, if we were to stop the podcast right now, I guarantee you every person listening would be like, I had no idea about the amount of depth that occurs in the PE learning environment just from this alone.
That's only the first less than 5 minutes of a lesson for us.
It is.
What happens the next 40?
Yeah.
And we have a lot of parents that tune into the podcast. I'd say that I hear from parents, I don't know how to strike up a conversation at the dinner table. I would take this right here. If you have an elementary student and you know it was a PE day and you want to strike conversation, say, what did you walk and talk about today? That could start some of the dinner table. So, gentlemen, thanks for giving that to families. That's huge. Yeah. So, Mr. Hamma, we're going to stick with you for a minute. You have been in the middle of one of the coolest things that we do here in the Moscow School District, the elementary swim unit. So can you just provide a little bit of a history of what this swim unit is so that all of our listeners get an idea of what we're going to talk about for the next little bit here?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that I got involved in 2001 as the lifeguard who had to keep track of our amount of time per station blowing the whistle so that we rotate to each station. That's what I meant by blowing the whistle, sorry. But the idea of, I experienced watching it, and then I got to talk to the PE teachers at the time. I call them the OG. That's Dan Peterson, Doug Fisher, and
Rick Markley.
Rick Markley, yeah. Mm-hmm. Stephanie Sant was also out there. I teach with the wonderful Stephanie Sant, who is our music teacher, choir teacher here at the high school, but music teacher at McDonald. Stephanie Sant has been involved with it for over 20 years. When I asked her, how long do you think it started? And she goes, I think it's around 35 years now. So I don't know that for sure, but she did tell me Lori Austin, who was the former principal at McDonald and the former PE teacher at McDonald, I'm told she helped start that up. And it's a pretty immaculate thing because we're teaching all sorts of skills, and we've done it for so many kids for so long. It's helped me out. What am I missing here?
Yeah. So what are the grades and what does it look like as
yeah.
far as the units?
Yeah, we do 4th and 5th grade for the Moscow School District. All students from, I would say Russell's, what my brain thought about for a second, but West Park, Lena, and McDonald. Each student gets 2 sessions. There's probably about close to 3 hours of actual in-water instruction time for those 2 lessons, I think is important to note. And I think it's important to note because that's the only amount of time that we can get with these students. And a lot of students need a lot more than 3 hours of water instruction. This might be, for some people, the very first time they've ever even touched the water. We see that skill level from holding the side of the pool scared and trying. Success for that student is holding on with one arm or just standing in the water without holding the wall. To the experienced swimmer who hangs out with Lance after school and swims miles and miles. So, yeah, we do all 4th and 5th grades, I think, and they all get 2 sessions.
Yeah.
So
yeah, our 3 schools get split into a morning half. Say 4th grade for West Park might come in the morning. 5th grade for West Park might come in the afternoon. We do that for our 6 days. And it used to actually start out as a 5th and 6th grade unit. But what I think we've loved about the original structure was repeating that for two years, 2 grades that are next to each other. So as a 4th grader goes through this year, next year they'll get it again in 5th grade. So by the time they're done swimming in 5th grade for those 3 hours one year, 3 hours the next, they're a lot better.
I can only imagine. And
Yeah.
when we were talking about coming in with different skills, I mean, you're going to add a whole element of I've never done it, and I'm, with Coach Hamma on the swim team, all in a pool. It's one thing to be like standing in a gym space, but that's remarkable. So, Mr. Graham, what are some of the essential skills you hope the students can leave with after doing the swim unit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually, this year we started talking about, or really started focusing on our one big question. What do we want our students to accomplish with this unit? And so the question that we're asking all of our 4th and 5th graders is, do I feel more safe in and around the water after participating in our 2 lessons? And so our overall goal with this is safety. We want them as safe as possible in and around the water. And that's especially important for us in an area with so many different bodies of water so close to us, all the different types of recreation that you can do. We think this is such an important skill, and it's such an important question for them to be able to answer. Can I be more safe?
That is an awesome driving question. So, Mr. Briggs, Mr. Graham kind of touched on it, but why is this important for the greater community? Because if you think about it, you 3 right here touch impact the largest majority of the youth inside of Moscow, right? So we're talking hundreds, if not close to 1,000 students within a given 2-year span, right? That go through this. So explain to me what you feel this is for like an impact in our community.
Hands down, in order for us to feel successful as educators, parents, community members, it's our due diligence to provide students of any age opportunities to become safe, successful individuals moving forward. The idea behind a swim unit and a swim unit safety course is to drive the content and the physical abilities, knowledge for our students to be able to be in and around water at a safer level. This was the first time we kind of came up with that. We've always had that question as a target for this unit, at least for my 10 plus years actually instructing it. But this year we're tracking some data for that. We love data. Everybody loves data. So now at the end of our 2 sessions, we're asking that question to students and they're being able to provide us with that feedback. And I can say for the 4 grade levels that are already done with it, we are well over 97% off the top of my head that do feel more safe in and around the water. We have 5 stations that these kids go to, and I think it's important to touch on those. One of them is water safety. Yep. What to do if somebody's in the water, how to help them, why it's important to be able to stay out of the water. If you're not going to be able to help somebody, what can we do? We can throw something to them. The little motto they learn is reach, throw, row, don't go. If they leave knowing those little 4 things, I feel more comfortable with them moving into summer, 60-plus days without instruction, and they're potentially going to be around an unsafe environment that includes water. So it's important for us to do this at the end of the year. And some of those other stations are front stroke, backstroke. We've got water aerobics, so you're getting a little tired in the water. Why is our body starting to get tired? What kind of changes do we need to do? We need to get closer to the wall. We maybe need to take a break. Never get in the water without an adult knowing, specifically your at-home person who takes care of you adult, not the friend of the friend and you're at their house and they have a pool. That person isn't the number one person who needs to know if you're going to choose to get in and around water. Your parent, the person who takes care of you, needs to know those things. So I think reinforcing those before summer when they've got 60-plus days hanging out with their friends is really important for us. I hope that answered the question.
That was great. And it is such a contribution to the community, really, that the public school system wants to take that on, right? I mean, because technically, is the swim unit a requirement within PE standards that every student in Idaho gets a swim lesson through their PE curriculum?
I feel like we were just trying to talk about this earlier. Yeah. I don't have 100% the best answer for that. I'll let somebody else hop in on. I think it's tricky being a PE teacher, and we're all shaking our heads because you can't see us. We're all shaking our heads. It's like, yeah, it's not the same as like you're going to have this very specific math curriculum or science curriculum to follow, a health education curriculum to follow. We have a set of standards that are both from the state and the national standards that we kind of use as a guideline for how we're going to teach our things. And there are some swim-specific things in there for being a physically literate individual that we're trying to get them to be. But in terms of a curriculum, you guys can hop in and kind of help me with that. But we know what we're teaching. It's in our scope and sequences. It's written everywhere. But somebody handing me a book that says this needs to be done it's not that way for PE.
Well, why I bring that up is because for 30 plus years, maybe 35 years, the Moscow School District has decided we're going to use swim as a vehicle to teach these PE standards. Not only because of what you'd said, what you're required to know physically to use your body, but all the safety and community impact. And I mean, I know, because when I ask the question, I know that not every student in Idaho in public school gets a chance to be able to go into a pool and learn from the teachers that they love and trust most. And I could not be more proud of our school district for saying, this is something we're going to do. But recently, as prices increase in every way, from renting buses to the cost of substitutes, pool rental, it's actually become a pretty difficult endeavor to fund this year to year. And you three have kind of taken this on your shoulders to advocate for finding funding, finding sponsors, and everything else. So what would you, and we'll go with you, Mr. Hamma here, what would you want the greater community to know about investing in this program? Even if someone's listening here that maybe owns a local business or a way to contribute, why continue this? And talk a little bit about that funding hurdle.
Yeah, absolutely. Here in Moscow, this swim unit has been a huge part of our PE curriculum, yes, for 35 years. In particular, it's helping students learn a life skill and even life-saving skills. Those rising costs are pool rent and paying for substitutes. Paying for substitute teachers is going up because cost of living is as well. And it's actually hard. We were talking about our lifeguards that were watching us actually get paid more than our substitute teachers. Sorry. You're welcome to check those facts. There are people who get paid more than me. But those are what our lifeguards told us. So we were actually talking with one of our instructors who also works at the pool, who also has her SPED degree, master's in SPED degree. She was helping us teach. And we're just wondering about the finances. Yeah, it's really interesting how those prices have gone up. We drop about $7,000 a year on this swim unit. That's about the overall total cost. It's a little
over
more
the
than
last
that.
couple of years.
Yeah.
Like those things are going up.
Yeah. It's about $2,500 for the pool rental for those 6 days. It's not the whole day, so it's there's still lap swims going on and still swim teams going on.
Yeah.
But that's a different time in the day. But about $2,500 for pool rental for our 6 days, which is honestly pretty darn cheap. Looking at other facilities, the Croc Center up in Coeur d'Alene, it's literally hundreds of dollars an hour, and that's not what we're paying. So I want to also thank my boss, Dan Lawson, at the U of I Swim Center for that. He helps us out.
Yeah, we really cannot say thank you enough to the University of Idaho for opening up their facility for this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then another huge cost is paying those substitutes. I think it's a little around $4,000 to pay for our substitutes for really 4 of us classroom teachers that leave the classroom, the PE classroom, and we go into the pool and teach those stations. We have got a 5th person paid for so that we can have our group sizes smaller, so we have 5 stations. So I usually go finding myself someone like Amelia Byers, who has her SPED degree, is student taught in our district, trying to get her hired in the district because she's a great teacher and she's a vandal swimmer. She's on record holding relays. So she's fantastic at it and a really good swim teacher. So I feel like she's ideal to be that 5th teacher. So trying to pay for those subs, though, is the expensive part. And it is a really great way for a business to help us with that, maybe with a sponsorship or like donating costs to cover like this chunk of the pool rental. The interesting thing that I've learned through writing grants to just keep this going is as long as you can attach an academic standard to your bus request, busing gets paid for by the state. Is that
It is
correct?
true.
All right.
Yep.
So we're learning some of these things as we go, but the busing is paid for, we hope. So that part is an actual cost that comes up front, but then gets reimbursed. But we have been trying to find different ways to get it paid for. It has been paid for in the past by our schools, and yes, they are getting pinched even just as much as everybody financially. So trying to find alternative sources to keep this swimming unit going in our PE curriculum is absolutely what we're wanting to do.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that. So as the community school coordinator, I can tell you that we have a large number of local businesses and industry that have sponsored all kinds of events throughout our district, from Schweitzer Engineering that essentially helped us build the makerspace at the middle school. We, of course, have the Nez Perce Tribe that came in and helped us build the podcast studio. I mean, I could go on and on of the different businesses. But if you are someone local that owns a business, or you're in a situation where you feel like I could give to something, this is a cause where, if you gave, it would go right to students continuing this opportunity that's 35 years old in the district. And I want to give a big shout out to these 3 guys because they completed a Nez Perce Tribe grant for next year. We'll find out this summer if it helps fund next year's program. But again, that's a one-time grant if it happens. So we are going to really actively be pursuing in the community, anyone who would like to get their name inside of this swim unit. It's worth it. It impacts every single elementary student.
Have an idea and a light bulb about how that might be wonderful, and we could even help the business with if we find a business that's willing to, say, sponsor this for us. If they're willing to print out a swim shirt or sun shirt, I'm a kayaker, I call it a rash guard. That, 1, protects kids from damage from the sun. But 2, we could slap a logo on there. I don't know, you said Schweitzer or Idaho Central Credit Union. So the kids come and they swim. We give them a swim shirt with that business logo on it. And we give that as they go out the door, hey, have fun this summer. Protect yourself from the sun. Those sun shirts, 1, protect the skin, but 2, they protect our natural bodies of water from getting all those chemicals from our sunscreen. But then also you're promoting a business and promoting our swim unit. Hey, I learned to swim from Moscow Elementary Swim Unit.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Well, hey, we're coming close to the end here. I love asking everyone who teaches in our district this question, so we'll just kind of go one at a time here. But what brings you the most joy as an educator in the Moscow community? Mr. Graham, we'll start with you.
Just that I get to see the kids every single day. Honestly, it brings me the most joy. There's a reason that we became educators, and it's making a difference in children's lives. So the fact that I get to work with all of our students, but I mean, even at West Park, there's we have such a diverse community over there. It's fantastic. So the fact that I get to work with all different kinds of kids and make an impact on them is what keeps bringing me back. It's the reason that I'll never stop doing what I'm doing. And that's why I'm here. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Mr. Graham. Mr. Hamma.
I got to say also, the kids, I mean, they're funny. They're hilarious. They're kind, usually, and very forgiving. Yeah, kids are a kick. Absolutely love that part. And can't really make up half the things they do or say. It's just completely unique, and you never know what's coming. I would say this to you, Brian, because it's been a blast knowing so many families in our community and all the different sports my family does. Well, I'm seeing so many of my students and their families out and about, whether it's like in basketball like we do with our kids, or my son's on a hockey team. My daughter's got dance stuff this weekend. Literally saw some kids from each school that are in my daughter's dance classes, and they're like, "Oh, you're Bria's dad." I'm like, "Yep, I'm Bria's dad. Remember my real name?" "Yeah, okay, you do, okay." And like just seeing an active community and the active families and helping people understand and see that, yeah, this is fun and takes a bit of effort, but yeah, it usually pays off and makes everybody happy and feel better. So being a part of that community is absolutely just a treat, especially the fun, silly parts of the kids.
Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Briggs.
Yeah, I think having the opportunity to see students get a little bit of success and a little bit of growth is what brings me joy, brings me back to the job that I have. I also think it's really important, as somebody who didn't live with their family in school when I was younger. I lived with other people and had the number one thing for me that always stayed constant was going to school and being able to provide that for my students and know that I'm not just in the cafe gymnasium is what we call it. I'm an all-school person. I'm in the hallway helping students. I'm in the library. We're checking bathrooms. We're out at recess. We have all of these students. The thing that brings me the most joy is providing that experience for students that I know they get to go home with and have a little bit of success because they got to come to school and they got to see the PE teacher, as fun as it is, but I'm there to help them feel safe and happy in all aspects, not just the tagging game. So that brings me the most joy.
I love it. I know I've said it a number of times in this podcast, but I can't thank you three enough for all you give to these kids in this community. It is many, many hours unseen when you're preparing materials, meeting together, writing grants, coming up with new programming. I know on the horizon it's only better because in my 6 years I've been here, I've only watched the PE programming just continue to evolve and become more and more inclusive with the community. I see community partners all the time in all three of your gyms, and it's just remarkable. So if you've got a kid in a Moscow School District, stop by the gym. Say hey to one of these guys and thank them. They deserve it. They're incredible educators, and let's keep this swim unit going. Spread the word. We are looking for sponsors. If you know somebody, contact your PE teacher, contact me, or you know what? Just call the district office and say, I got it solved. This is how we're going to keep doing the swim lesson. But again, guys, thanks so much. And thanks to everyone for tuning in to the Moscow School District Community Schools podcast. Without you chiming in, this would not happen. So we appreciate all the feedback. I'll continue bringing in exciting guests like these three gentlemen. Until then, we don't have another podcast till summer break. So enjoy the summer. We are days away. All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Brian.